Good morning. Today we will be completing rest of the chapter of chapter 1, and we will be starting with the role of plant leaves in photosynthesis. Before that we had already completed what is photosynthesis and the equation for photosynthesis. Okay. Before we go to the role of leaves in photosynthesis, let me show you this figure of a leaf. Okay, so suppose this is a leaf and it has two this upper layer and the layer below this is the lower layer. So on the lower layer and both on the lower layer and the upper surface or the layer you see the leaf is shining. Shine is because of a cuticle. Cuticle means it's a waterproof material type thing. It's there. So due to that the shine is there, and this waterproof material is known as cuticle, which protects the leaf's internal organs. Okay, now you see here, if we cut this leaf is there. Now if you cut this leaf in a fine section, what you will see, you will get it and see it in the microscope. You will see it like this. So this yellow one is the cuticle part, then the pink one is upper epidermis. These are the different cells, if you name them. Okay, this is the lower epidermis, and then this is the cuticle again. And within these cells you have vascular bundle seeds, xylem, palisade, mesophyll, phloem, spongy mesophyll. So you don't need to know all these now. Just remember cuticle, upper cuticle, then the different tissues, and then you have again the lower cuticle and the lower epidermis, and then the cuticles. And on the lower epidermis there are guard cells. Okay, now these guard cells are maximum, they are found in the lower epidermis, but few of them are also found on the upper epidermis. It is not that we don't have any guard cells on the upper epidermis. We have, but it's very few. Maximum of the guard cells are in the lower epidermis. Now what are guard cells? I'll tell you in the course of explanation. Now, role of leaves in photosynthesis. You know, photosynthesis will take place only if the color of the leaf is green. Means why the color of the leaf is green? Because due to the presence of the green pigment called chlorophyll. So for the photosynthesis to carry on, we need four things. What are those things? First is carbon dioxide, second is water. Now remember this formula. Means this it's not formula, it's a symbol of carbon dioxide, symbol of water. So instead of carbon dioxide we can write CO2, and instead of water we can write H2O. So carbon dioxide, water, sunlight and chlorophyll. These four things are required for photosynthesis. In absence of any one of them, photosynthesis won't be carried out. Now, the leaves, they have to have two features which makes this photosynthesis carry on. One, leaves contain green pigment called chlorophyll in their cells, and this helps to capture what is the work of this green pigment chlorophyll? They capture the sun energy, and that is used to prepare the food from carbon dioxide and water. So this is the work of the green chlorophyll. Now what is the other one? What is the other feature of the leaves which helps to carry on the photosynthesis? It is the small or tiny pores called stomata present on the leaves. Now through stomata the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere enters the leaf. Now I have told you guard cells, but what is stomata? Okay, let me explain first. Now oxygen is a byproduct of photosynthesis. A byproduct of photosynthesis means which we get after a certain reaction has been carried on. So that is the byproduct. So oxygen, we get oxygen when the photosynthesis process has been carried out. So oxygen and water, these two are the byproducts of photosynthesis. Means these two things we get after the photosynthesis reaction has been photosynthesis reaction has been taking place in the leaf. Now this water also goes out from the leaf through the stomata. This oxygen and water that is formed, that we get after the photosynthesis comes out from the leaves through the stomata. Now what is stomata? I'll be explaining you. I have told you here guard cells. Now these guard cells, they consist, this is a stomata. This is a bean-shaped structure. The stomata is actually a bean-shaped structure. Bean means you have seen like this beans, like this. It's many beans are there. For cooking, you in kitchen you will find rajma, lobia, or the French beans which you eat for your as vegetable. If you open that, inside that also you will find a seed that will be also of this shape. So this is a bean shape. We have a bean shaped structure. These two structures are there, and this opening is known as stomatal pore, and this is the epidermis cell, and this is the stomatal pore, and these two are known as the guard cells. Means this bean shaped structure, this thing, these are the guard cells. Okay, so these two are guard cells. This open and close, and that is through which, when it's open, there is a gap between them, and through which the water and the oxygen goes out, or it opens also for the to let in carbon dioxide. Clear? So this is the open condition, and this is the closed condition of the guard cell, or on the whole we say it is a stomata. So I hope you have understand what is stomata and how does it work. Now this, you have seen some plants that don't have leaves, especially the cactus. You have seen cactus plants like this, isn't it? Now can you see leaf here? There is no leaf here. What has happened to the leaf? The leaf, they have been modified into these thorns, okay, or spines, whatever you say. They have, and you see the stem of the plant is green in color. So here what happens, and for one more thing, cactus is found in which area? In desert area. So in desert area we know a lot of means it is very hot, and their evaporation is very fast due to the sunlight, strong sunlight. Then if leaves are there, as you have seen now, as I was telling, in this cactus plant the leaves are not there, because in leaves we know stomata are present there in both upper epidermis on the upper side of the leaf and the lower side of the leaf. Now if in desert areas so many leaves are present, then what will happen? The evaporation will be very fast, and the plants will have, and as you know we get very less water in deserts, so the plants will have problem in surviving. So here the leaves are transformed to spine, so that the stomata is not there and they don't lose water easily. So then who takes out the photosynthesis, carries on the photosynthesis, because this plant has to survive. So the stem, which is green in color, they carry on the process of photosynthesis. This is in case of the cacti or the plants that are found in the desert. So what are the two main characteristics of the plants found in desert? One is that the leaves are transformed or modified to spines. The next one is the stems carry on the photosynthesis instead of this leaves. Okay. Now you must have seen some plants that are not green, that those leaves are not completely green, as you see in other plants whose leaves are completely green. These plants, you see, the plant, they have many colors. The leaves are of multicolor. They have green, but they have other green colored also. They may be red, brown, or whatever the color is. So how will these plants take out the photosynthesis? These plants also take out photosynthesis by the green color. But here what happens? The green color is also present in these leaves, but it is hidden. You can say masked off due to this other colors masks off. Means other colors overpowers that green color. So the plants carries on their photosynthesis by the green pigment which is present in the leaf, although it's underlying, although it is marked, but it carries on photosynthesis in those parts. Clear? Now examples are croton. We say this type of plant, if you must have seen, they are known as croton. Money plants also, you see, plants are leaves are it's not completely green as this leaf or say about this leaf. Money plant leaves have some white strokes also. So they are also the same thing. The green part, they carries on the photosynthesis. Now what are these types of plants known as? Whose leaves are not completely green, they are of some other color. They are known as variegated leaves. Okay, so they are the plants which have white and green parts in the same leaf. They are called variegated leaves. Now what is the important? Now let's come to the importance of photosynthesis. What is the importance of photosynthesis? So can you imagine if there is no sunlight for 2 months or 3 months, what will happen? Or if no photosynthesis is carried on earth, what will happen? So the main thing, if no photosynthesis is carried on, there will be no food, because the green plants won't be there. Means if the plants don't get their food, they get food by the photosynthesis. Now if they don't get food, what will happen? They won't survive. And we know that both animals and human being, they are directly or indirectly dependent on plants. As I told you, suppose if we are eating the flesh of a goat also or any other animal also, they are directly dependent on the green plants. So if we consume those animals, then we are indirectly dependent on the plants. So we all, be it human, be it any other organism, they are both directly or they are either directly or indirectly dependent on plants. So without photosynthesis, the plants won't survive and there would be no food. Now if sunlight is not there, what will happen? Even if sunlight is not there, there will be there will no sunlight, no food, nothing. Because without sunlight, the plants cannot make their own food. One more thing, if these plants don't make their own food, we know water and oxygen, they are the two byproducts of photosynthesis. So no photosynthesis, no oxygen, we cannot live, because we respire, we take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. And without respiration, no living organisms can survive. So the photosynthesis, it maintains balance between oxygen and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Why? Because it gives out oxygen, we take in oxygen, we give out carbon dioxide, and the plants, in the other hand, needs carbon dioxide to carry on the process of photosynthesis. So here you see there is a balance given here. This is a green plant. It carries on the process of photosynthesis. It gives out oxygen, which is taken in by any animal or organism, any human being. What they do, while in the process of respiration, means when we respire, that is when we take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide, that is known as respiration. So we give out carbon dioxide, and that carbon dioxide is taken in with the plant. So there's a whole cycle. So without carbon photosynthesis, what will happen? First is no food, no oxygen, and the balance in the atmosphere of the carbon dioxide and oxygen will be disbalanced. You can say there will be no balance. It won't be able to maintain the balance. Now let's come to few experiments or activities, you can say. One is, I'm just explaining the activity. You go through the activity, you will understand. Here the name, what is your aim, means what you have to do, what you have to find out. To show that sunlight is necessary for photosynthesis and starch is produced during the process. So, and whenever if you are asked to write a photo experiment in your exam, during exam, you have to write in the same way. Means the aim is the thing that what you have to do. Secondly, what are the materials required. Thirdly, what is the procedure. Again, what are your observations, means what you saw during the experiment. Then inferences, means what was your conclusion. So this is the way how you write an experiment. Okay. So now for this one, to show that sunlight is necessary for photosynthesis and starch is produced during the. So what we need 2 potted green plants. They must be of the same kind. In same kind plants, 2 types, 2 pieces. Now, and the iodine solution and a dropper. Now, take 2 plants, keep one plant in sunlight and another plant in some dark area, or cover it with a black box or black colored box or some box, so that plant, the main aim is to that plant doesn't get sunlight. Keep those for 3 to 4 days. Then test both the pots with 2 to 3 drops of iodine solution on the leaves. You had done this, means you have read this in class 6 also, and you see what happens. So the pot that was kept in dark, if you put iodine solution on the leaf, there will be no result. Means it won't change the color, blue-black color which we get. But the one which we have kept in the sunlight, if you put iodine solution, it will turn blue-black. And again, when you, if you again take the plant that was kept in dark to a sunlight area and keep it for 3 and 4 days, and again test it with that same iodine solution, it will show the blue-black color. This is because this shows that, means why it is happening. Because photosynthesis, in absence of sunlight, photosynthesis is not able to take place, and when a photosynthesis is not being able to take place, that means the starch is not produced. So if starch is not produced, the leaves won't show the blue-black color. Clear? So this was the experiment. Now the next experiment, to show that sunlight is necessary for photosynthesis. Any type of light, especially sunlight, is necessary to carry on the process of photosynthesis. You take a potted plant. Now on a piece, on a leaf, you here see as they have done. And suppose you take this plant. This is a creeper type plant, but any plant, and you put a piece of paper here, both sides, up and down, and clip it so that the sunlight doesn't reach this part. Okay, so sunlight doesn't reach this part, and keep it like that for 3 to 4 hours. So after that, what will happen, when you test the thing with the iodine thing, the part which was green, means which was exposed to the all of the whole leaf is green, but the part which was exposed to the sunlight, which did not have the paper on it, will turn blue-black, and the other part which was covered with paper, that won't turn blue-black. So that means this also shows that in this part, the part which was covered with the paper, the photosynthesis did not carry out, and so it did not turn blue-black. Now let's come to the third experiment, to show that green pigment is necessary for photosynthesis. This you have done, this experiment is the same thing, because here only we saw the okay, it was the sunlight thing. Okay, this activity can be carried with the variegated leaves of coleus or money plant. So if you take a leaf of money plant that has white and green both areas and keep it in sunlight for 2 to 3 hours, and then after that you test it with iodine solution, so the parts which are green in color will change into will show blue black color, whereas the parts which are not green in color or that is white in color won't show. So this shows that plants, green plants only can carry out the process of photosynthesis. So then we come heterotrophic nutrition in plants. Till now we know plants manufacture their own food, but there are some, they manufacture their own food, so they are known as autotrophic. They can manufacture, but there are some plants who cannot manufacture their own food because they don't have chlorophyll in them. So but these plants are also alive. So how do these plants carry out their how survive? Not carry out. How do this survives? Like human and animal, we depend on other plants or flesh. So these types of plants also, there are 4 types of heterotrophic plants. Means the plants are for the heterotrophic plant are those which take in for nutrition for themselves from other sources. So if we can divide the heterotrophic plant in 4 types. One is parasitic plants, one is saprophytic plants, saprophytic plants, insectivorous or carnivorous plants, and symbiotic plants. So these are the 4 plants under the heterotrophic plants. Now what do you mean by parasitic plants? Parasitic plants, para means other and cytic means dependence, means the plants who are dependent on others or who live on other plants. See, the non-green plants which live on other living organisms and obtain their food from them are known as parasitic plant. The living organism from which a parasite derives its food is called a host. Till now we knew that there are some insects that live on other animal or something and they derive their food, but there are some plants also which live on other organisms and they derive their food from them and are known as parasitic plants. And the plant or the other organism on which they are living and obtaining their food are known as host. The most common example is the cuscuta or dodar plant, or in Hindi we know it is known as umbrabil. You may have seen this. They are very thin yellow, very thin structures. Means it's like roots, like roots, and it's going covers the whole plant. And the leaves of this umbrabil or this cuscuta, what they have done, they have been reduced. They are 2 scales. Means there are no more leaves. They are as if the scales, you have scales on fish, so you have scales. And the roots from there, this plants, this cuscuta plant, they climb on the host plant and they have special structures called hostoria. Through this hostoria, they absorb the food from the plant. Okay. So if possible, someday I'll give you the real picture of this cuscuta, then you'll understand. You must have seen this plant. Then let's come to saprophytic plants. Sapro means decaying matter. Remember like this, then you will remember the definition also. Parasitic, what I told, para means other, means plants living on other. Saprophytic plants means sapro means decaying matter. So the plants living on decaying matters are known as saprophytic plants. See, the definition is also saying The plants which live and feed on dead and decaying organic matter are called saprophytic plant. The best example are bacteria and fungi, and the fungi are mushroom. You all have mushroom for your as your food. So this mushroom is also a saprophytic plant. So now you will remember the example of a saprophytic plant. Saprophyte, like parasite, they are also not green in color. You have seen the mushrooms are either white or brown in color, light brown. The ones that grow in wild, they are brown in color. Otherwise, the ones which you eat are white in color. And they do not carry out photosynthesis. Saprophytic fungi, they secrete digestive juices on the dead and decaying matter and convert them into solution. The nutrients are then absorbed from it. Means the solution which they converted from them, the nutrients are absorbed. The fungi are commonly seen during and after rain. You must have seen the mushroom that we say the tadpole tools like that. This type thing in after rains or during rains. So yes, you see. Now one more example you can see where you can see this fungus and all. If you have left your shoes or school bags in hot and humid weather for a long time, and you will find white patches on them. These white patches are fungi, and the singular form of fungi is called fungus. Okay, we generally say fungus has grown on them, but fungus is the singular form and fungi is the plural form. Now this activity you have to do it, and you can do it easily at home. Take any plate, put a bread piece, moisten it, take a picture of it, okay, then cover it and write on the picture day 1. Suppose I am telling you this is a plate, you took a bread piece, take a picture of this, write day 1 on the picture, okay, then cover it. Then again you take the same thing, cover it with a lid and day 1, mark it also day 1. So these two you have taken the pictures. Leave this for 2 to 3 days. After 2 days you leave take out the cover, and while you are taking out the cover, make a video and from a distance take out the cover. Means stretch your hand and take out the cover, or tell someone to take the video and you take out the cover is slowly. Don't just uncover it slowly. You will be seeing something like this, not the roots, it will be like this, okay, grown on the bread bread surface. So these are called bread molds. So take that picture, and after 2 days if you are taking it up, mark this 3 picture, take these 3 pictures, write day 3 and send these 3 pictures in the group. Okay, this will be your one experiment which you have to do at home. Now let's come to insectivorous plants or the carnivorous plants. So plants that eat animals are called insectivorous plants. Now these insect eating plants, they are mostly green in color. So why do they have to, since they are green in color, they can perform photosynthesis, so why do they have to eat insects? The question can come. It is because some of the plants, they grow in an area, in a soil where the nitrogen is very less. To compensate with that deficiency in nitrogen, these plants, they eat insect. Now this is an example of an insect eating plant, and it is known as a pitcher plant. So 2 examples I have shown before also. It's a pitcher plant and a Venus flytrap. If you see it before, you will get the Venus flytrap picture. So this is a leaf. It's a modified in this part, in this form. It's a pitcher form. Pitcher is a thing where you take water Jug is also a pitcher, or ghada, which we say in Hindi. And this part, this lid, is a modified, the tip of a leaf that has been modified into a leaf. So when an insect comes and sits here, it falls inside and this closes off so that the insect cannot come up and they digest it. This is the way how they take in food. Now the symbiotic plants. The symbiotic plants are those which live in association with other plants and share and shelter and nutrition are called symbiotic plants. Here there is an association of two plants. Okay, two types of plant. No, not of same type, but different types. Two different types of plant, and they both gain something from each other. Means they both are useful to one another in some or other ways. For example, you see, certain fungi live in roots of trees. The tree provides nutrients to the fungus. In return, the fungus provides certain nutrients from the soil to the tree. So you see, both are helpful to each other. So these type of plants are known as symbiotic plants. Another example is lichen. See, the pronunciation is not lichens, it's lichen. Okay, lichen. This is also symbiotic relationship. Here there is an association. Actually, lichen is not a single plant, it is a single thing. It is an association between a green algae and a non-green fungus. So from non-green fungus you can understand they don't produce food, and the other one, the green algae, they produce food. So the fungus, they provide shelter, water and mineral to the algae. In return, what does the algae do? They provide food to the fungus. The algae, being green, prepares food by photosynthesis. So this was all for this first chapter. Thank you.